and gentlemen, welcome to Hero Movie Podcast, your greatest source for superhero movie and television discussion in the multiverse. I'm your host, Adam Portress, and joining me today, those red eyes don't mean he's a demon. He just hadn't got much sleep. Sweet Sean Kovacs from the internet.
I can't believe you listened to my email that asked for that song at the top of the show.
And he's been doing jigs for days, Bruce Leslie.
I'm a prickly pear, and don't make me rip your tongue out.
No, we wouldn't do any of that because we wouldn't be able to talk to you about this week's episode because we asked the people over at patreon.com/HMP, as we do every month, what we should vote on, and the voting was very interesting. I'll talk about kind of the breakdown in that in just a second, but needless to say, Wynonna Earp was the winner, as you can probably tell by looking at your pod listening device of choice. And I think we're going to have a pretty good time here today. So like we said, at the beginning of the month, we always celebrate our Patreon people. That's coming up quite soon. So you can get in on this and vote next time. But this time we had these up for vote. We had Lois and Clark, the 90s animated Spider-Man, Rendell, Dark Vengeance, Attack on Titan, and Wynonna Earp. Here are a couple of the comments. Ollie said, I'll give Shanzi a break this time and vote Rendell.
Hey, thanks.
Kevin said, I usually wait and listen to the episode to see what will cause the most chaos, but decided to vote for Wynonna Earp since it's not animated, to which King Solomon's Frog responded with, you had me at not animated, and 5 episodes is a heavy lift for non-anime fans, even if they are only 20 minutes long. Voss451 said, I thought they were talking about Grendel, the comic book series. No idea what Rendell's is. No one did. Matthew said, I want to see if Bruce can shift the other two into Titan fan forms. Alex said, I can't wait. I can't vote for Attack on Titan. Wynonna Earp got my vote. And Justin said, I went with Wynonna Earp because nothing else really jumped out at me. Wasn't incredibly impressed with the pilot, so I hope you guys give it some more context, given all that you've context, given that you've only seen the pilot. All right, so let's get into it here. I'm sorry. So basically, Attack on Titan did not do anywhere nearly as good as I thought it was going to do. I thought that was going to run away with it, to be quite honest. I think, Bruce, you were on the same page, right?
Yeah, I was kind of hoping so, because it's a big surprise to a lot of people that don't realize how good anime can be.
Well, they were in third place. Lois and Clark got the bottom. Just half a step above that, you got Rendell. Just a tiny little step above that, Attack on Titan. Spider-Man, the animated series, was actually in second place, but Wynonna Earp won out by just the skin of the teeth there and everything. So we went to Netflix and watched the first episode of Wynonna Earp. Bruce has been chomping at the bit for this one, for us to get to it for some time, and I'm sure he'll go into all of those fun things. But again, if you would like to vote on what we watch and all these kind of fun things, head on over to patreon.com/HMP and, support us at any level. Doesn't matter what you're at, you get all of those fancy things, just whatever it means to you. Put that in money form, send it to us our way, and get more bonus content at the exact same time, including the Dinger Zone. So check all that kind of good stuff out. Let's get into it, boys. Here is the trailer for Wynonna Earp.
Tell me where Peacemaker is, and I'll kill your sister fast.
It's in my panty drawer. Why don't we go get it?
You've got depths, and neither of us know the bottom up yet.
I want them to tremble with fear before me.
You got powdered sugar on your nose.
What was that? Shadow Assassin.
Over here, freak nuts! Come get it!
It is just a matter of time before they figure out what I am.
2 choices. You can help me, or you cannot help me and die.
Lights out, bitch.
We are officially in business.
Wynonna Earp.
Alrighty, that was the trailer for Wynonna Earp. You know what time it is.
It's time for Bruce's Comic Book Connection.
Bruce, what do you got?
Wynonna Earp was created by Bo Smith, an alum of my alma mater, Marshall University, and a Huntington native. Now, he actually lives in CK now, but let's just call it Huntington. And he might be best known as the guy who came up with the idea for Guy Gardner's Warrior phase. And how he got into writing comics is a great story. He started out as a letter hack, writing in frequently to the letters columns of multiple DC comics. He always signed his full name to the letters, and it was something like Stephen Beauregard Smith Jr., something like that was really long so his name would be memorable. And I think he wrote over 400 letters, and I guess they were pretty good because they kept getting printed in the columns. As letter hacks would often do, he would both criticize and make story suggestions for the comics he read. At one point, an editor told Bo something to the effect of, "If you think you can do better, you write a Green Lantern story." It might not have been Green Lantern, but you get the idea. Anyway, Bo took the editor to task. He wrote a comic script and sent it in. The editor was impressed and hired Smith to write more comics. He formed a writing relationship with Chuck Dixon that really got him into working on some big titles for DC, mostly Green Lantern and Guy Gardner related. In 1996, when Image Comics was still a fairly young publisher, he debuted his signature creation, Wynonna Earp, a descendant of Wyatt Earp who worked for the Black Badge Division of the U.S. Marshals and hunted down supernatural threats. When Bo went to work for IDW, Wynonna came with him and she stayed ever since. She's changed a lot over the years, but she's always remained awesome and found a large, loyal audience that has only been enhanced by the sci-fi show. For a guy who spent most of his life working in comics, he's never been in a panel in the big room, Hall H, at San Diego International Comic-Con. And that's something he's always wanted to do. When Wynonna Earp was going into its final TV season, Bo got the call. He was finally being featured in Hall H. Then the pandemic struck, and that Comic-Con got canceled. And Bo told me, he said, "Man, I'm 66 years old. I don't know how many more chances I'm going to get. So International Comic-Con organizers, if you can hear the sound of my voice, give Bo and Hall H toot sweet." Now, Adam, give us a list.
Well, if that comic connection wasn't enough for you, let me sell everybody on this sci-fi pilot because this episode has everything. It's got a bus trip to a town called Purgatory, mysterious circumstances, then bus abandonment, stomach sliding, whip pans, jump kicks, Jennifer Love Hewitt lines, eyeball stabbing, truck talking, wall climbing, tongue ripping, hanging, pool play, knife play, sawed-off shotgun play, dude with an eye patch, dude who doesn't dress as if he's in this time, handsome U.S. Marshal man, parental murder, some very questionable gun safety measures, a wild conspiracy wall, high noon throwdown, and demons, guys. I had no idea what this show was about. I didn't even know it wasn't even a period piece. This show's got demons in it. It's kind of got everything.
The Revenants.
Revenants. Well, hey, listen, there's demons as far as I'm concerned via this
Fair
pilot.
enough.
I'm seeing red-eyed demon-looking things. I've seen the movie Demons, so
Fair enough.
while this doesn't take place in a movie theater, I still feel that it could be the same.
Phantoms was the bomb, yo.
It was. So, Bruce, why this? Why has this been on the chopping block other than its a close personal friend?
Well,
That is exactly why.
Well, also, though, man, it has found like a huge internet following. Like Earpers are a big deal. This show was, I don't know if it was necessarily progressive, but it certainly found an audience who appreciated the portrayal of a female-female relationship that would show up, Team Way Hot, and a largely female fan base has kept this show going over the years. And even after its final episode aired on Sci-Fi, the community remains very strong. It's like a Twitter darling.
That was definitely something that I saw at places like Dragon Con and stuff while this show was going on. That was something that was always surprising to me. It's because this was a show that, like, the name, it's a great name. First and foremost, great name for a book, the show, all of that stuff. Fantastic name. So it's very recognizable and everything. But that group always had just a bunch of people sitting out waiting for the queue and all that stuff.
And there have been ErperCons both in North America and in Europe that have been very well attended. And I sometimes feel like we kind of missed the boat on a podcast opportunity because there was only like one podcast, this Black Badge podcast, that, they're great people, but their production value probably not what we would do. And it's like they got to do a lot of cool stuff because they were the Wynonna Earp podcast. So, surpassed our Preacher podcast fame with that one.
Well, you were champing at the bit for that, for us to have a Wynonna Earp podcast, and when you were talking about it, I did see the pilot after you had suggested it.
Yeah.
But I knew that Wynonna Earp had its fans. What I didn't realize at the time of watching that pilot is that you have the massive, just camera stealing every second she's on screen.
Yes.
Melanie Scrofano as Wynonna on the show.
And that's the biggest secret to the success of the show.
I mean, it's not even close, man. And you know, after seeing her on Letterkenny and knowing that this is the same person who's on Letterkenny and is Wynonna Earp, it's kind of ridiculous that this is the same person.
Yeah,
because there has never been two more different characters ever.
And she kind of delivers like a real Jessica Jones vibe, but in a weird way, maybe a little bit stronger. You know,
Yes.
she doesn't have some of the downside that Jessica Jones has in terms of personal turmoil.
Yeah, at least
Right.
with this
She's been through a
pilot,
lot.
she does. Yeah, at least with the pilot, she's gone through some, trauma with her dad and everything. But it doesn't feel like everything is weighing on.
Yeah, she was sent off to juvie and then to mental institution and stuff, but she's come through it all.
Yeah,
you know,
but
very
Jessica
differently.
was constantly berated.
But it's the same idea, you know, the attractive dark-haired lady in a leather motorcycle jacket that drinks too much.
Yeah.
But
Yeah.
they bring a different energy to the performance. Both great actresses, but a different budget on sci-fi than on Netflix.
Yeah.
Now,
But I will say too, another thing, it's like you watch the first season of Supernatural, which I've gone back and done, and this is on par with that. You go back and you watch the first season of Buffy, like big time shows. This has production values on that level or higher. So I can see, like, if people fell in love with Supernatural, why some people would fall in love with this, and people love Buffy. I can see why people would fall in love with this. So, it was better than what I had in mind. Because to me, sci-fi was Sharknado, the Sharknado channel. And then when I saw this, it was way better than I expected a sci-fi original to be. Because this is probably the first and last sci-fi original I ever watched with any regularity.
So if I may, though, the show, I want to love the show. It's there's a charm to it. As I said, I love the lead actress. She's amazing. This show suffers severely from dexteritis, where just about everybody who isn't the lead on the show is just awful. And maybe they get better as the show progresses, because that's the thing that I kept reading, is that, like, look, you need to give this more of a shot. You can't just base the show on the pilot.
And the casting.
So hold on.
Okay, sorry.
So, like, one of the major problems is you have this amazing scene with Melanie Scrofano, and then you have people who is it their first day acting? It's pretty amazing.
Well, it's a largely Canadian cast.
Sure. Well, it's all Canadian, right?
Yeah. Well, probably is all. I'm hesitant to say all because I don't know, but it's a largely Canadian cast, and it's Western Canada, so it's not the Toronto folks.
Right.
So yeah, I mean, it's like it's the kind of thing where you got the star, and then you got whoever's available and in the area. But they do expand the cast in later seasons, and you do see a step up in the quality of the performing. And if you stick with the show long enough, Bo gets to play a character in it, so that's kind of cool too.
The guy. So how much of the show have you watched, Bruce?
I've made it through 2 seasons.
So the guy who is Doc Holliday, is he
Timothy Rosen?
Is he? I mean, is he good in the role?
Yeah, he is good. Okay. And he's doing a particular, I mean, he's kind of trying to give us his take on Val Kilmer's take on Doc Holliday.
Well, that was going to be my question. Because
that was my problem with this pilot, is that he's clearly not doing his own thing.
And once again, if you see him in a comedy role, you know how like seeing Melanie Scrofano and Letterkenny gives you a new point of view in this performance here? Yeah. Well, if you watch Schitt's Creek, you'll see Timothy Rosen there, and you see, wow, he's like got range. He's a different person here.
Oh, that's good.
Yeah. So, that's a very beloved show. I don't know if you've ever checked it out, but he's a part of that incredible cast.
This is going to shock you, but that's one of those shows that everybody likes, so I'm just automatically going, no way I'm watching it.
That doesn't sound like our Adam Portress at all.
I'm like, nah. Y'all all love that too much. Ain't no way I'm watching that crap. Not going to happen.
Very interesting. Very interesting.
That'll show them you don't enjoy something lovable. That'll really teach them.
Hey,
I like sticking it to him.
And correct me if I'm wrong, but this is also the same thing with you with Rick and Morty, correct?
Oh, well, okay. Now, fair enough to me. I watched the first episode of Rick and Morty, and I'm like, I don't know what y'all are talking about. And then I stopped because I don't like Dan Harmon, and everybody kept talking, this show's amazing, this show's amazing. I watched it, I'm just like, it's all right.
And
maybe there's other stuff in there that's great. I don't know. I just won't know because I ain't watching it.
Nothing makes you like Rick and Morty less than having a 14-year-old kid. I'll tell you that.
Well, I bet. So, Adam, let me ask you a question.
Uh-huh.
When it comes to television shows,
yes,
I know that you like Ted Lasso.
Mm-hmm.
I know you like The Mandalorian.
Yeah.
Is there anything else out there that you are watching that you're like, man, this is good?
Oh, nothing currently, really.
Is there anything within the last 5 years that you can think of where you're like, this is a good show?
I'll come back to us in the episode. I'm sure there's something. But
okay.
Hey, you know what's interesting is because I did because after watching Wynonna Earp today, I kind of flipped through some Netflix stuff because I don't watch a ton of Netflix, but yet I continue to pay them. But I was flipping through and I'm like, wow, there's a lot of stuff here that looks really neat, and it's so tough to commit time to it. And like for me, I love doing this show. I love doing all of our stuff and everything. And I'm like, to me, that feels like I'm spending that time a little bit better. If that makes any sense, it's because I'm gonna beam it out to a whole bunch of people that are gonna listen to me.
I get it.
Mm-hmm. And I don't like me mostly, so I don't like giving myself joy.
Oh, buddy, that's not what this is about. That's not what this is about.
No, I know. But honestly, it's not a ton of television. I'll go and I'm more of a movie guy. I tend to roll more heavy on the movies and stuff, and the things that I do watch tend to be more kind of documentary form and things like that.
I strictly am into commercials, so it's really hard for me to get into
mostly from the
streaming
70s.
You love you love those Geico commercials with tag team?
No, I'm mostly about the McDonald Land commercials era for McDonald's.
Oh my, sir. Is that a shot across my bow?
I love McDonald Land.
Me too.
I didn't have a McDonald's in the town where I grew up, so I thought like you go to McDonald's and it's like going to McDonald Land.
Man, that is a small town. If your small town doesn't even have McDonald's, whew.
Well, it does now. It just didn't back then.
No.
We had a Druthers, as we've discussed earlier. Now, Adam, I'm going to redirect us here. Adam, is this the first time you'd ever seen Wynonna Earp?
Yes.
So how did honestly, it stack up to your expectations? Because you're thinking sci-fi, you might have some preconceived production value notions, but I think it looks good.
Well, I will say
I'm curious what you think. You're more sophisticated, more critical about that stuff than I am.
I at first I thought this was a CW program, just on account of. I mean, look at who's in it, and the audience that it's made for. It seems to be that,
and that is the bar by which it should be measured. That was its competition.
Right.
Was the stuff on CW.
And as far as that goes, this looks as good, if not mostly better than all of those shows do. I think.
Agreed.
I was actually surprised at how decent everything looked.
Not all CW shows. Some CW shows are great.
That's true. But there was only one special effect where the guy was going into the ground with the fire and everything. That's the only thing that I thought was a little bit weak, and maybe just a ton of the wire work with her jumping and kicking. Outside of that, everything else looked really good. The soundtrack, while it may not have necessarily been the thing that would that I would choose to put in there creatively, it works for what this is. And it helps compel it along for sure.
There's something pre-January Bruce had no appreciation for that post-January Bruce really appreciates, and that's lighting. And I really could appreciate some of the lighting, especially like the nighttime scenes and stuff. Looks way better than some of its contemporaries on other networks and stuff.
Well, it's easier to light for a nighttime shot when you're actually in the studio. And that's what a lot of the shots are in the show. I think you're right though, Bruce. They did spend a whole lot of money on the pilot for special effects on this show, which is a very smart move. I agree with Adam that there's that one shot in particular where she goes to kick the guy.
Yeah,
and it's just like, oof.
It's almost comical, that one. I agree with you. I'm not going to give you any pushback on that.
She's completely weightless and everything. It just it felt
very
like zero
Matrix
effort. Worse than that. More floaty than the Matrix.
But the thing about this show, and it's the thing that maybe it's just me, but for most Canadian broadcast shows, there is an element of charm to them where I'm willing to give them a bigger pass than I would something that I'm watching on the CW. And I don't know what it is exactly. Maybe it's the, come on, everybody, we're making a show. Like if it's that kind of thing, maybe. But, they have, like, I was not lying in the weeds to hate this show, which I do from time to time. I understand that. But this is not one of those times. I really wanted to give this show a shot. That's not to say that, if we're a year from now and somebody has gets the idea of let's watch a couple more episodes of this, or like 2 more episodes, that I won't be like, but maybe it'll be like I want it to be good. I really do. It's just something where it's not. At least this pilot is not my jam, but I want it to be. I like Westerns, although I will say I have almost no knowledge of the American West. Everything I know is from movies, basically. So like if depending on how accurate Young Guns and Young Guns 2 is,
100% historically accurate.
Okay, good. So then I'm good.
Yeah.
Well, and I will say that seems to be where the soundtrack for the show comes from, is from Young Guns too.
And I love this opening song though, this theme song. Did you pay attention to it, Adam? I don't know, Sean. Did you guys watch the opening theme song? It's just really catchy.
I like the credit sequence and everything. Yeah, I mean, I guess the song didn't strike out to me too much. I guess I was more into the visuals of the credits.
Yeah, me too. I didn't pay much attention.
Like I've never heard the whole song, but like the 15-second hook that they play for the opening, that's earwigged me before. It's been stuck in my head for days on end.
Because I'm a cowboy on a steel horse I ride. I'm Wynonna.
No, it's that song. I wanna be a cowboy, and you can be my cowgirl.
I ain't singing any cowboy song. I'll tell you that right now.
You remember the Rappin' Duke, Adam? That sounds like a cowboy song you'd like.
Maybe. Now,
it's John Wayne, somebody pretending to be John Wayne rapping. It was great.
The rap. I'm sure that's great.
You know what I learned today? You know what I learned today about John Wayne? That he had a 6-pack a day cigarette habit.
Sheesh. You got to call in sick to work.
How much time do you have during a day to smoke 6-pack? That's got to be like half smoked cigarettes.
No. You're totally missing the point, Sean. 2 at a time.
Oh, right.
Double barrel like a shotgun.
Right.
I'll give you 3 guesses what he died from.
Balloon accident?
Motorcycle accident.
He died from wrinkles.
At that point, though, you have to have like an assistant lighting your cigarettes and handing them to you, because you got to burn through those bad boys fast. You don't have time to wait on light those yourself. Your assistant's got to do that.
I've never been a smoker, but the way that I neurotically get addicted to things, I think I would be a 6-pack a day smoker if I were.
If I'm going all the way in.
Yeah, I could totally see that. Yeah.
It's like seriously, my mother was a multi-pack a day, and it was like you wake up, you light your first cigarette, and you fall asleep with a lit cigarette in your hand. Like it was nonstop all day long.
He watched 10 minutes of an Asteroid Boy cartoon and decided to make an entire YouTube channel. Who knew?
That's how it goes, man.
Weird. Just happens.
So I'm noticing how little you guys have to say about Wynonna Earp.
Okay, so I want to talk about this because I think this may color some of your thinking. Sean, you touched on it for half a second. What is you guys' history with Westerns in general? Because my guess is Sean's, like said, is probably fairly limited.
I like movies. I like Western movies.
I mean, I've seen a bunch of the Peck and Paw stuff. I've seen the more popular spaghetti Westerns. I've seen a couple of John Wayne movies. I just can't get past the John Wayne-ness of most of John Wayne's movies.
Fair. Yeah. Outside of a handful of ones, he is just nothing but John Wayne. At least with the Searchers, you have John Wayne, but he emotes a little bit.
Right.
I mean, I like McClintock, which is more like a fun Western. You know what I mean? It's not like out shooting people and stuff. It's just kind of a fun Western, and that's probably one of my favorite John Wayne movies. I like True Grit, Good Enough, but I probably haven't seen it. And like I've seen a bunch of what I call grandpa John Wayne movies where like the TV is always on the Western channel. Like there's some Western channel and there's always some John Wayne movie that kind of looks like every other John Wayne movie that's sort of just on, and it could be an episode of Gunsmoke for all I know. There's a whole lot of those. Like I feel like he probably had a period where he's cranking out 7 or 8 a year.
Yeah.
Oh, without a doubt, man, because when he was in that, when he was in the studio system, he was contractually obligated to hit some number. And I don't know what that number was, but it's not 5. It's more than that.
Yeah, and some of them even feel like they just re-edited footage from other movies together and called it a new movie. Like,
right.
a lot of that stuff that went on back then. So
right, like when you need to make it look like you shot a horse in the movie, you just shot the horse, like those kind of movies. Yeah.
Yeah, and then every time you need to shoot a horse, you're like, we could reuse that footage, but it's cheaper to buy another horse than it is to go get in the car and find that footage. Yeah.
Right. Now we're starting to get into Italian films because those are the ones that will just go like, we'll steal something from, everybody. And then we'll just throw it in there. And then guess what? It's like, ours now. Shut up.
We need this horse to jump over that fence. Can you train the horse to do that? No, but we can shoot him and throw his corpse over the fence.
What's your horse corpse removal budget on this movie?
But yeah, I mean, I like Westerns good enough. I say I like Westerns, but, I've just seen, like Sean says, I've seen the classics like Young Guns 2, the Wyatt Earp movie with Val Kilmer in it.
And like,
which,
like I said, I had no idea when this was going on and everything. And to learn that it was like, oh, it's modern. I honestly, when we started in the bus, I thought we were going to get to, let me tell you how this whole thing got started. And then it went back to the Old West or something. It didn't. It stayed this the entire time. And just a lot of like the genre subversions that they're doing in here. It's like, this is that modern Western, she's at the bar and, she needs a steed. She needs a horse. And then he goes, I'll throw her, this filly is, really good. Yeah. Throws her the keys to the motorcycle and stuff.
She repays his favor by exploding his motorcycle.
Yeah, I mean, first of all, I love that, by the way. That was a really great move. And I love the production design on this gun. I think that the gun looks great. I love the flame, whatever the hell's going on with this gun when it gets some sort of power in it. At this episode, we don't know what any of that stuff is, but it starts glowing. Yeah, that's the
power of the Earp Air. That gun is Peacemaker, and it's the only weapon that can send the Revenants back to the underworld. And with Wynonna being the Earp Air, that only works for her. And that's the only way. So, that's the whole interplay is if they get the gun, they can stay on Earth forever. But if she has the gun, she can send them back.
That to me, that's where this pilot got me was like this. I thought that was a really neat and interesting idea that we've got this air and the whole gun situation. Adding that all in there makes this feel. It makes it feel original to me, at least. Maybe it's derivative, I don't know. But to me, I'm like, oh, I'd never thought of anything quite like that. I like the idea of these demons. This is the gun that's going down, and she's always kind of had this. She's got to go back. She's the heir to this, so it's kind of her responsibility. And I'm always a fan of the reluctant hero who doesn't want to be there, but just goes, well, for the betterment of all these things, I will jump in and be the hero.
And one drawback in the pilot here is they hadn't really cast the main villain for the season yet, so he's not here. But when Bobo shows up, that's another character that I think you'd find. I mean, it's my favorite kind of hammy acting, but I think it's something both of you guys would find enjoyable. I think it would have added a little something to the pilot if Bobo had made an appearance.
Now, is that the monkey from Mystery Science Theater? The later years?
Oh man, I shouldn't have given his real name. I should have used his character's name. Jessup. It's Jessup Green. No. Bobo Del Rey. No, he's not a monkey.
Ah, well.
But he does have like this condition. Like, I'm not talking about the character, but the actor has like this condition that causes white spots to be in your hair. I can't remember the name of it. It's actually what gives Dalmatians their appearance. So he's got like these white spots in his beard that's authentic. It's pretty cool.
It's called it's called piebaldness.
It's like localized albinism, basically.
That's what I'm to understand, because we had a kid in school that had that. It was just so.
And oftentimes the same stem cells that form the melanocytes are very important in the cochlea in your hearing. So folks will often be deaf in one ear when they have that condition.
Really?
That I did not know.
Dalmatians also often either deaf or low hearing.
That I knew, but I didn't know that was on account of the other thing. Huh.
Yeah.
I need a more stinger on this soundboard. Thank you. Close.
That's close enough.
That was the NBC standard canned laugh, so it absolutely works.
Oh, punky.
But yeah, I have a lot of fun. I like how Wynonna plays the guy here, getting upstairs, and then when her sister shows up with the shotgun. Like, I just have a lot of fun with these characters. I agree that the performances do drop off once you get past Grafano. But I think the story's compelling enough. The sister's a very big part of the show. So if you like her, it'll be real important.
I mean, I'm not saying she's Dukes or anything, but she's pretty good. It's just about everybody else on the show, quite honestly.
Yeah, and the nice thing is a lot of the other people go to the wayside.
Yeah.
And, you stick with your core. They bring some more people in. The writing has its ebbs and flows. Emily Andres, the person who's the showrunner and wrote the first several episodes, she she made her stake into Degrassi, so there's going to be a level of melodrama to it. Right. But I think it looks good. I think that the main character, the heroine's a really interesting character, and it's fun. And like I said, the stick I'm holding it up against is the CW stick or like the Gotham stick, stuff like that. I'm not really trying to compare it too hard to the Netflix originals, though. I think if you like the character Jessica Jones, I mean, it's a very different show, but if you like that character, this gives you kind of another interpretation of that kind of strong, troubled female character.
Now, how much alcohol does this woman drink in comparison?
A lot.
Yeah.
Still up there, huh? All right.
Oh, yeah. Yeah. I mean, if you had demons chasing you, you would try to quiet the voices in your head that way too.
So the guy with the eye patch and everything, he's not necessarily like kind of the king of all of this sort of stuff. He's just a henchman or something?
He's just one of the 77 revenants. And, I like the lore of the show, like the individual episode writing. Some are better than others, but the lore behind it is that Peacemaker, Wyatt Earp's gun, he had a supernatural link with that gun. And when he shot criminals with it, they went to hell, but then they could be resurrected whenever his heir reached either 23 or 27. I can't remember what the age is. And when his heir reaches that age, they're resurrected, all 77 of them. And it's the heir's duty to take Peacemaker and gun them all down again. And they're stuck in this cycle of rebirth and being gunned down again.
That's interesting.
Yeah. And of course, once she starts working with the Black Badge Division, they face other supernatural threats because the 77 Revenant, that's not 4 seasons of TV there.
I was about to say, how quick's that going to go through? And how many episodes was this? Now, I know Sci-Fi, they don't have to have as many as, like, say, CW.
13. Yeah, it's like, I think they do 12 or 13 a season.
Okay.
But, I mean, Earl didn't stick to the list for, like, a season or two. I mean, it makes sense.
Yeah. But once they start bringing in other threats and then they go beyond Purgatory, but then there's also in the lore, like this town of Purgatory is adequately named because the Revenants can't leave a certain area here that's, I don't know, warded or whatever. So they can't escape, but if they had the gun, they could escape or something. So that's part of it too.
So here is again where my lack of knowledge in the American West comes in, because she's in Purgatory, the town of Purgatory. However, that Kurt Russell movie is called Tombstone. That's where the OK Corral was in Tombstone. So did he move from Tombstone to Purgatory?
In the lore of the show, yes. And Purgatory is in Canada. Like they are in universe. I think they're in Canada because it becomes an issue that these U.S. Marshals are in Canada. But
Canada,
I could be wrong.
Hell's
it could be
waiting
North Dakota
room.
or something. But yeah, Purgatory is supposedly where he went to retire.
I see.
And I don't know how Doc Holliday wound up there. Did you guys know that Timothy Rozon's character is Doc Holliday? I mean, I can't remember in the first episode if he's just mystery guy that climbed out of the well.
No, he's
he's
mystery guy at this point.
He's mystery guy, but because he is doing Val Kilmer, I knew instantly who he was. I mean, You know, it's like, oh, hey, that guy is pretending to be Val Kilmer. He's clearly Doc Holliday.
I mean, I don't know. Do you guys want spoilers on his story at all, or do you just want to save that?
We'll sprinkle a little. Give us a little.
Does he die of TB again?
I'll just say, when everybody thought he died of TB, he found a cure, but it was a very permanent cure.
Okay.
Oh,
he's a vampire.
No. He's not a vampire. That would be way cooler. No, it wouldn't. That'd be way less cool. It'd make him sparkly. But yeah, it
just makes him recite poetry and talk long-winded.
I'll just say he has not come back from the dead. He's been alive this whole time and stuck in the bottom of a well. He's been stuck in the bottom of a well, completely alive and lucid, and he's miserable. So he's glad to be out.
Now, with this being a pilot and everything, we all know how kind of pilots go. They can either be like, terrible or even midland, like Seinfeld's pilot was kind of crappy. But like, the pilot of 24 was like, holy crap, what is this? Well, I got to watch this thing next week. But did they spend all this money on this episode, or is it parsed out well enough to where you feel like
I think it's
doesn't
consistent.
feel like the super cheap thing?
I think it's consistent. Yes. And I think that was part of the problem with some of the latter seasons, is that the show was so expensive to produce that they had to delay production for a while because they didn't want to lower the budget. And IDW actually coughed up a portion of the production costs.
Oh, wow.
And IDW was having financial trouble. So it got stalled out for a while until IDW could come up with the money to do it right. But they did not want to cut corners on the later seasons.
I was going to ask, does IDW have that kind of money to throw around? Apparently, no.
Well, they got it done. So they got it from somewhere. But yeah, they did have, you'll notice there were 2 years between season 3 and 4. And that's when all that was happening.
This wasn't one of those ones that like transferred networks or anything. They stay with Sci-Fi all the time.
Sci-Fi the whole way through. I think Sci-Fi and IDW have a deal.
There's so many weird things out there where it'll just go like, here's a couple seasons over here, and now like Lucifer, it's on Fox, and now it's on Netflix, and like it's debuting seasons on Netflix, which I think is just such a weird idea.
But because they kept the production budget stable, they kept it up. Like I said, there was a 2-year delay between season 3 and 4. And then season 4, the first half came out, and then it was like a year. Well, not quite a year, but several months later, I'd say like 10 months later, the second half of season 4 came out.
Ugh, I hated waiting for TV like that. Just, throw it all, especially if it's like, this many shows. I don't know. Or just make them separate seasons even.
Yeah, well, they function like separate seasons.
All right, well, before we get to our final review here and everything, we have to ask ourselves one very important question, is how this television pilot relates back 1-to-1 with Sylvester Stallone.
Well, thank you, Adam. I have a very small prepared statement. Hello, Mr. Stallone. I hope you're listening, because today's Stallone connection is NBC Universal. As it turns out, NBC Universal owns Wynonna Earp, and the former vice president of NBC Universal used to be your agent, Ron Mayer. In 2020, depending on who you speak to, Ron Mayer stepped down as the vice president at NBC Universal because he was being blackmailed by a woman he was having an extramarital affair with. The people at NBC Universal were both shocked and horrified. You mean to tell me someone in Hollywood was being unfaithful to their spouse? Ron Mayer must step down immediately, said NBC Universal. And that's just what he did. When news got out about Ron Mayer being blackmailed, much more than one unnamed insider said, that's just Ron being Ron. Mr. Stallone, I'm not sure how we got here, but we've already reached the end of another segment of the Stallone Connection. I'll do better next week. Hopefully it won't be a CBC show.
Wait a minute.
I hope to hear from you soon. Your very good internet friend, Sweet Chauncey from the internet.
So what you're trying to tell me is that he has not worked with any of this giant Canadian broadcasting company group of people?
Not a single person involved with this show. Not a single actor and a single episode of this show has ever worked with Sylvester Stallone. Not a producer, not a stunt person, literally no one ever.
Wow.
Well, I think you know what this means, Canada. Step it up.
Well,
get with the game.
Just the
get
west
with the program,
coast
you know
of Canada. because East Coast of Canada, he works in Toronto a ton.
Yeah, East Coast Canada's got it together. Where are you? West Coast Canada?
However,
So
everyone
sad.
in this cast has worked with Brent Butt, so they got that going for them.
Wait a minute. Hold on. What's the name now?
Brent Butt?
Brent Butt. There was a
Yeah.
person who just like when said here's your son, they said Brent Butt. That's what they went with.
I mean, Butt is the family name. They just gave him Brent for the first name.
How you figure they get that? Because Smith, that guy, like, he hammered some horseshoes or something. But, all right, never mind. Anyways.
They got some junk in the trunk in that family. That's all.
So at Here Movie Podcast, we have our own patented Robin rating system. If you'd like to check that out, why don't you head on down to our subreddit, reddit.com/r/Here Movie Podcast, right there at the top of the screen. Bruce, let's talk about this pilot episode. What do you rate it, and why? And pitch to us why we should watch more.
I would say you watch it for the star. You watch it for Melanie Scrofano. I think it's going to appeal more to female viewers than male viewers, just because that's how the demographics played out as this show went on. A really interesting romance is the centerpiece of the show between Wynonna's sister and a police officer, and it had its own hashtag that was a pretty big deal for a couple of years. So I'd say you watch it because Wynonna Earp is a cool character with a wonderful actress, and she has some grit to her that can be fun to watch on screen. I don't know how else to put that, but I'm going to give it an honest rating, which is like a low Tim Drake. I think it's fun enough. I think you compare it to other shows that when I looked back over Joe's list, we might have rated too high. So if I gave some of those shows Tim Drake's, this one definitely Tim Drake.
Fair enough. Sean?
Man, I'm vacillating, but I think I'm just going to give it a low Damian Wayne. She is just a million-watt bulb on this show, and she's so wonderful. And like, it's easy to play. I'm a tough chick. I mean, that's easy to play, but she plays it different, huh?
I said you just did a great job right there.
Hey, thank you. But she plays it totally differently than what we're used to seeing, where it's almost like she's tired of being the tough chick, and I really like that. So for me, it's a Damian Wayne.
Yeah. I the second that we saw our main character here, I was like, well, Sean's in for at least a Damian Wayne. But I feel the same way. I like this show a lot. It was like the pilot got me, and for something that's been around as long as it has, and just for whatever reason didn't penetrate my vision well enough. I didn't know what I was going into, but I had a lot of fun doing it. And again, it's funny because, like I said, I thought this was a CW show, and I was like, I'm having a lot more fun with this than I normally do CW shows. Which is why when I looked and I was like, sci-fi, oh, okay, well, it's something that's a little bit different. So maybe that's where everything came from. But I think you're right. The lead is enough to kind of make me want to watch at least a little bit more of these. Maybe we can do some in the future. I don't know. But I say that, but the second I say that, then I'm gonna get a finger pointed at me saying you'll never watch another episode of this again, Adam. You're the worst. So I'm just I'm hedging my bets.
I mean, I like the show, but I fell off when they had production delays, so I've got plenty I could go back and watch.
Well, I mean, how many of those things that, like, it's happened so many other times, even in comic books and stuff itself. I mean, for those of us that read the Ultimates back in the day, it took 3 years to finish 12 issues.
Yeah.
Was it at least that? It was at least 3 years, if not longer.
Oh,
than
Brian
that.
Hitch.
I mean, granted, when you got it,
he's still got that problem. It's always the artist to blame too, by the way.
When you open that book, though, it is worth the wait, because that art was just absolutely amazing for all those Ultimate books. So it's just like you would have to go back, and I guess it was nice too, because you'd have to go back and read the other books to try to remember what was going on. So you probably read the books more times than you'd actually realize. So check out Brian Hitch's The Ultimates, everybody. I don't know why I'm pitching that as hard as I am. But
did you ever give a rating?
What did I say? The Tim Drake. It was just a solid Tim Drake.
Okay. I'm trying to help Joe out there.
Right there. Yes, we don't leave Joe in the lurch on this one. So next week, everybody, we're heading back to the old movie theater here to check out Venom. October is going to be a huge month for movies. I think they're just releasing everything now in the month of October. So we're going to be checking all that out. Let's try to remember. I think I probably like the Venom movie maybe the most.
I think we all three liked it because it was like so dumb it was fun kind of.
Yeah, and it was shocking that they actually just didn't completely punt everything, which we were so used to Sony doing, that it was kind of just like, do I like this? It was that kind of
it was. You got halfway through and you're like, this might be halfway decent, and then you're like, it's kind of fun. It's not exactly what you want it to be, but then again, what kind of stuff is? And so hopefully this movie will get a little bit more into that. But this is the nice part. Get this. Venom is only about 90 minutes long.
What?
Woo! Yeah. Isn't it going to be great to have to not spend 8 weeks watching one singular film? I like long movies. I watched Lord of the Rings extended cuts back to back to back, but sometimes you just want 90 minutes and have a good old-fashioned time and get out of there. And I think we're going to get that a lot more. I hope we're going to get more of that in comic book movies, to just like, maybe you'll have your big epics every now and then, but man, a tight 90-minute movie, let's see how that works out. We'll talk about all of that next week. In the meantime, Bruce, where can we find more of your work on the internet?
I want people to check out the YouTube channel, youtube.com/C/Bruce Leslie. You stick with it through the first couple of weeks of October, and I'd say in about 10 days, you'll get to see some phenomenal acting from yours truly in one of the intros. But you gotta wait for that till the first week of October.
Have you seen John Lovitz? Better than that. Sean?
We've got a show called 30 Questions where we talk about nerdy stuff for about an hour, and we ask 30 questions of that show. And we're probably going to have like a battle royale about what we're going to watch for our next 30 Questions show.
Yeah.
Just a thought.
We'll have to figure all this kind of stuff out. So, do check all those stuff out. Links will be in the show notes. I work at a movie theater, and I'm showing movies. I've put together giant programming and stuff every single week for the month of October.
That's so great, dude.
So every Friday in October, if you are in the Charlotte area, head on over to the Cinebar. We're showing a classic movie every Friday night at 10 p.m. I'm going to do a little intro. We've got like retro trailers and advertisements and stuff like that. It's going to be a whole heck of a lot of fun. And I'll be hosting Tuesday trivia there as well, all horror themed for the month of October. So come on down and say hi if you're in the Charlotte area. I'd really appreciate that. That is it, everybody. Join us next week when we're talking Venom. For Sweet Sean Kovacs from the internet, Bruce Leslie, I'm Adam Portress. Stay super, everybody.
Bye, Marty and Amy.
Living in the wild, wild west. Put your flags in the air and launch them out.